Hello, this is Jeff again from DocuData. Welcome to the second in our series on basic ActiveWeb training. In our first session, we logged in toward the home page, took a look at where to get information, and discussed the various web license options. In this session, we will focus on configuration and management. This includes setting up departments and subdepartments, configuring record series to help us manage retention, establishing our box, file, and document metadata fields, managing user access to the system as well as recipients who can receive items, configuring custom label templates for files and other items, and adding account-specific holidays if necessary. Here I have logged in as a user with full access, including the management functionality. Clicking on the Configuration tab, we can see our configuration options. Since these appear in a logical order, we will walk through these one by one. Let's get started with departments. Departments are very useful in records management, and every record must be assigned to one. In addition to being useful data that can be used in searching for items and creating reports and disposal lists, they are also used in controlling which users can access which items. Finally, your record center can even configure your account so that they can provide you with a breakdown of charges by department and even separate departmental invoices. From the Configuration tab, click on Departments. In the Departments pane, we see the list of departments that currently exist for your account. Select Department is a dummy department that items may be temporarily assigned to until their real department is known. Expanding a department reveals its subdepartments and a link allowing you to add more. Only active subdepartments are available to assign records to. We can add new departments by clicking on the Add button. The department field is the only required field. This is what will be used in matching the department when you import data from spreadsheets, and it will also appear in drop-down fields and in reports. If your department is a code, it is also useful to include a description. This will appear beside the department in drop-down lists and in reports. All remaining fields are for reference purposes only. Expanding our new department by clicking on the plus button, notice how a general subdepartment has automatically been added and made active. We can use these buttons to the right to edit or remove this subdepartment, and we can click this link here to add more subdepartments as needed. The system prevents you from accidentally deleting departments or subdepartments that have dependencies. If a department is no longer to be used, simply make all of its subdepartments inactive. Now we will look at configuring record series. Like the department, this is also a required field. It provides useful data for running searches, reports, and creating disposal lists, and it can be used in automatically calculating the date and method for disposal of items. Note that, on request, the Record Center can apply a restriction on a record series to prevent it from accidentally being added to a disposal list. From the Configuration tab, select Retention Schedule. The list of record series for our account is displayed. Once again, we have an option called Select, which we will use for items that have not yet been properly assigned to a record series. Clicking the button to add a new record series or to edit an existing one will bring up the same interface. The record series field is required. This is often a code. Therefore, a longer description is also useful. The active retention on a record refers to how long it is kept on site after its creation and what is done with it at the end of this period. This is useful primarily to people who are using ActiveWeb to manage their active files. Semi-active records are those at the Record Center. Permanent records are kept indefinitely. You will probably have most of your record series destroyed in a confidential manner. Use sample or revision if you wish to have the Record Center palletize your boxes so that you can go through them and decide what to do with the items at the end of the retention period. Send to depot is used primarily for active records if you wish to send them to the Record Center at the end of their active retention period. Finally, none is used for record series where you have not yet decided what to do with the items at the end of their retention period. The total retention period is the sum of the semi-active and active retention periods. If you have a record series that users should not assign to items, make that record series inactive by deselecting this checkbox. The remaining fields are for reference. Legal evaluation may refer to how long a lawyer would suggest that you should keep the items, and financial evaluation may refer to how long an item may be useful for business purposes. It may be possible to delete record series, but ActiveWeb will prevent you from doing so if you have items assigned to this record series. Looking at a box, we can see a record series in action. When the disposal calculation is set to variable as opposed to fixed, the disposal date and method are automatically calculated based on the record series. This is done by adding the total retention period, both active and semi-active, to the end date of the item. If no end date is available, The system will use the date on which the item entered the record center. Now let's look at the mechanisms that you can use for customizing your box, file, and electronic document fields to make them easier to find. This is best done during initial configuration, as renaming a field that is already used can lead to confusion. If you do need to remap existing fields, please contact your record center, as they have tools that can help you to do this in a systematic way. From the Configurations tab, select the Field Definitions option for the relevant record type. Here we see our box fields as currently defined for our account. Some fields are always mandatory, and others can be made mandatory. Both of these types of fields appear in red, both here and on the records. We can rename a field by clicking on the Rename link. Simply type the new name and then click Save. For many fields, we can define values that will appear as a drop-down list that users can select from. Type the value that you wish to have added to the list, and then click Add. If only the values appearing in this list are acceptable, check the Lookup Values Only checkbox. To view the fields that are currently marked as disabled, click the More button. These fields appear in gray in our list, but will not appear on the records when viewed on the Inventory tab. To enable a field, clear the checkmark from the disabled checkbox. You can change the position of a field by selecting it and dragging it up or down in this list. The same applies to file field definitions. Files have many additional fields that can be activated, of up to 80 characters in length. You can define lookup values for any of these fields. Finally, we can also define the field definitions for our electronic documents. The same behavior applies. Depending on the policy of your record center, you may be able to manage your users and user groups online. User profiles allow you to provide the correct access and functionality to the correct users. They help you to protect your data and ensure that you have an accurate audit trail of who worked with which records. From the Configuration tab, select User. Clicking on the Add or Edit button brings up an interface for editing a user's profile. If a user has made their profile inactive through unsuccessful login attempts, this is where we would reactivate it. This is also where we would inactivate profiles for users that no longer require access to the system. User groups give access to functionality, including various tabs and buttons. We will see in a moment how we can define these user groups. A user may be assigned to as many groups as necessary. You can control which departments a user has access to and which addresses their orders can be sent to. Additional delivery addresses can only be set up at the record center, as they will require a signature authorizing delivery to this address. If your account has multiple types of web licenses, you may select which type of license the user has access to. Click the Save button once you are done making changes. Selecting User Group from the Configuration menu permits us to edit existing user groups and add new ones. User groups give access to modules and delivery types. If we set the module's access to partial, we can determine access to each functionality. Access types include View, Add, Edit, and Delete. Note that in some cases, delete does not make sense, in which case giving this permission would not have any effect. If we wish to restrict access to delivery types, we will set this to partial as well. Here we can select from amongst the delivery types that the record center has given our account access to. Note that some of these delivery types are not available to be requested on the web. Every box or file that is requested from the record center must be assigned to a recipient. This permits your reception to route the items correctly once they receive the delivery, and it also forms an important part of the item's audit history. By default, the recipient of items ordered online is the person who placed the order. However, if you wish, you may type any value over this if you wish to specify a different recipient. If you wish to do so, though, you may request that the record center limit your recipients to a list of pre-authorized recipients. The module that we are about to see permits you to define these lists of recipients, and it also permits us to issue emails recalling overdue items. Select Recipients from the Configuration tab. If we click on Edit or Add, a simple form appears. The short name is what we will use when we specify a recipient on an order. Additional name fields are optional. The email address is used in emailing overdue memos, which we will see in a moment. And finally, if a recipient is not to be used anymore, we will make it inactive. Here we have a recipient with the short name Einstein and the email address training@docudatasoft.com. If I place an item in my cart, the recipient defaults to the profile that I have logged in under. However, if I start typing over this, ActiveWeb guesses which recipient I would like to order it for. To recall overdue items, click on the Email Overdue Memo button. Enter a start and end date range for the dates when the items went out, then click OK. ActiveWeb will email the recipients the list of items currently out to them from that date range. The labels used by the Record Center contain the minimum amount of information to be functional. However, for in-house use, you may wish to configure your own label templates with different information. These are useful if you are inventorying your own files within boxes. They are especially useful in conjunction with ActiveWeb's Active File functionality. For boxes managed by the Record Center, they will often ask you to use pre-add labels that they have issued. From the Configuration tab, select Label Templates. Select the template to edit. Notice the option to edit existing labels or to add new labels of various types. Select the format corresponding to the label sheets that you wish to use. If you wish to add a new field to your label, click the Add button. Start by positioning your newly added field by dragging it in the Preview panel. In the Fields grid, you may select what type of information your field displays, fine-tune its position and size, adjust the font, and if you have chosen text, type the text which you wish to display. To remove a field, simply click here. If you wish to view how your labels will appear on paper, you may add items of the correct type to a print list. Go to the Labels tab, select the desired template, and click Print. Our labels are prepared as a PDF document that we can print. Do not use the option to fit to page, as this will introduce margins that will disrupt our label alignment. Finally, let's look at how we can schedule our account-specific holidays to prevent accidental scheduling of deliveries on these days. On the Configuration tab, select Holidays. Currently scheduled future holidays are displayed, indicating whether they are scheduled by the Record Center or by our account. To add a new holiday, type or select the date, describe it as we wish to have it appear, and click the Add button. And that's all there is to it. Our next session will cover the operational topics of actually working with records and data.